GDEX, the Midwest Gaming Expo of the year. A weekend of gaming and developer workshops all set in Columbus, Ohio. This year, it was grouped with CorgsCon and was filled with game developers showcasing their games, as well as the retro gaming community to create a truly fun and unique experience. Also, there was gaming tournaments, arcade machines, live music, amazing artists showing off some of their truly spectacular creations. Also, we were there. My brother and I showing off our game History of Dragosa. Which reminds me, I should probably mention who we are. My name is Jack, and this is my brother Luke. We are Violence in Video Games, a small indie studio currently working on a text-based choose-your-own-adventure game. If you're interested in following along with development, be sure to subscribe and join our Discord. Link in the description below. Anyways, back to GDEX. Let's talk about what we hope to accomplish with this video and what we hope to accomplish with going to GDEX as a developer, or any gaming expo for that matter, as an indie studio. We wanted to show off the game, and just like most people, we wanted to gain wishlist on Steam. Honestly, there's no shortage of things we wanted as a new studio going to this gaming expo. Hoping to grow our following, find an audience, learn about game development, find contacts in the industry, become world famous, sell millions of copies. Okay, maybe being a little more realistic is prudent, but I'm just being honest. I want what every other game dev studio wants, for the most part. We want to improve, and we hope GDEX would help us do that. We didn't know exactly what to expect or what would happen, but we knew the direction we were heading in. As far as specific numbers, we hope to get 30 Discord members and some wish lists. I don't know, maybe 100 wish lists? I don't know. We were just thinking out loud. Not a ton, not as many as we might get from something like a Steam Next Fest, which perhaps is a video for another time. If you're interested in us talking about what it's like showcasing during Next Fest, let us know in the comments below. So we took mental note of our plans, and we headed in. So anyways, we took mental note of what we hope to get out of it to kind of create a heuristic, some direction to go in, something to hope for. Did we reach those numbers? Well, we'll go into that later in the video. But I'd like to talk about how we learned about GDEX and how you can learn how to find some local gaming expos as well, provided you are lucky like we are. My brother and I have always heard about gaming expos. We grew up with reading articles about E3 and gaming magazines and seeing all the new games, the booths, the excitement of showing off something you created. I always assumed that was only for the big companies or people with a bunch of money who could fly around the country or even the world to show off their game. I daydreamed about doing that, but I never expected to be able to do that myself, at least not for a long time. So putting that aside, we did, however, join several gaming communities across Reddit, Discord, as well as various gaming forums around the internet to learn, to spread the word about our studio's existence, and to be active members of the game dev community. We may not have done those things perfectly, but we were trying to put ourselves out there. And doing so, we came across some super talented and amazing people. One of those people happened to mention GDEX. It was a gaming expo coming up in about 3 to 4 months when this person mentioned it. It was nearby. It was affordable. They were taking applications. The only problem is, we had a game, but would it be something worth showing off? I'm not really sure. Would people be interested? Could we get it ready in time and actually participate in a real-life gaming expo and not make complete fools of ourselves? Well, by the time I remembered to ponder those questions, I had already filled out a form, hit submit, and I think I remembered to mention it to my brother. But honestly, I can't remember. So I probably had to tell him, book a hotel, get bus tickets, purchase luggage for the first time, and also we had to finish some kind of playable demo. Okay, looking back, we may have jumped in a little too early for our first gaming expo. Too late now. Anyway, by putting ourselves out there, we were able to get in contact with people who mention things about gaming expos. We just kind of kept our ears to the ground and started listening and paying attention to what people were saying and offering. There are a lot of local gaming expos of various sizes that you should really consider, especially if they're affordable and nearby. You don't have to pay even for a hotel if it's close enough. Flying across country, you might have to, seriously consider that as whether or not if it's worth the time, especially depending on what stage of development you are and how big of a market your particular game has. So there's a lot of factors I can't answer for you there. But you can keep close attention, and you can kind of just, if someone presents an opportunity to you, you have to make the decision. Are you going to jump in? Are you going to do it? Can you afford to without, spending too much money, too much of your personal money? We were lucky and fortunate enough to be able to attend GDEX for fairly inexpensively, because it was so close by, and the hotels in Columbus, Ohio, were actually pretty affordable. So there's a lot of considerations there, but you definitely want to look at that. But like I said, we were offered this invitation, and we just decided to take it. Just if you get more active in the Discord and Reddit communities, these offers and these opportunities start to present themselves, but they look a bit intimidating at first, and you have to kind of do some investigation and to look into it a little bit more and see if this is something you can actually do. We looked at GDEX and we thought maybe, and then suddenly I just filled out the form and said, let's just do it. And that's kind of how we did that. So you want to keep your eyes open and just kind of pay attention, and just kind of look around and just listen to what other developers are doing, and you might find a convention nearby that is affordable. Speaking of the demo, however, I haven't talked about what game we're making, or what we showed at GDEX 2025. So it's time to go over that. I already mentioned it's a text-based choose-your-own adventure. Well, it's also a game about discovering the history of a fantasy world that it's set in. Through a series of choices, the player creates these books and short stories that the player will be able to keep and reread later. Branching narratives and different endings will fill your personal library shelves, creating your own unique history. The name of the game, History of Dragosa. Almost entirely text-based, we knew it was going to be difficult to stand out. We also knew we weren't going to pretend the game was something else. It's the game we made, and it's the game we are proud of. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but we've had fun playtesting it, and we were excited to show it off. We were at this point of a mind that there has to be someone else, someone who also sees just how fun this game will be, and maybe we'll find some of them here at GDEX. Speaking of which, GDEX was filled with some of the most welcoming and helpful staff and volunteers of any convention I have ever attended. They were active on Discord, in emails, in person, everything I could think of. The energy was delightful, and everyone was hard at work to make sure things were running smoothly. That's just on the convention side. I also have to say even the attendees were super nice. Some who were very clearly didn't like text-based games were still incredibly kind and offered words of encouragement, and were grateful to demo the game. The other developers were kind and full of information, even offering feedback and advice on technical and on actionable levels. I can't stress enough how much we learned while at GDEX. When we got back home, we had a notebook full of information, and maybe a few bugs. Okay, several bugs. Even a few crashes. Did I mention we may have been a little underprepared for showing off the game? Doesn't matter. That's what these tests are for. As we learned about bugs and crashes, we altered our pitch about the game to include some instructions, a kind of tutorial on the fly approach, mostly to ensure we weren't getting the same feedback, but honing in on new feedback and finding new bugs. I mean, we had a whole crowd of playtesters here, and who knows when the next time we'll get another chance like this to show the game off to a random group of players. Did I mention you can join our Discord and get in on the next round of playtests? The link is in the description below. Notice how I stopped calling the game a demo, and I started calling it a playtest. Well, that's because we were being totally honest. That's what the state of the game was. And that's what we were telling the players as well, because it's better to be upfront with people than to try to sell them on something that isn't the truth. I am still extremely proud of what we were showing off, don't get me wrong. But there was still a lot of work to be done, and that's okay. I'll go into more detail about the feedback later, but also my brother and I are actively addressing the feedback and updates in our Discord. Please join the Discord and follow along. Okay, I won't mention the Discord again until the end of the video. So, full disclosure, I don't have any footage of the first day, as that was mostly set up looking for the desk where we get our badges and unpacking our hotel. Also, some random footage of walking around the hotel lobby for some reason. I can't remember why we filmed this, but okay. The first day of GDEX is also referred to as Dev Day. Basically a day to get set up at your booth, learn the convention floor, talk with other devs, and have a day where you can attend talks and seminars where you aren't tied to your booth. We basically did none of that. Well, technically we did all of that. Just not in the most efficient way possible. We missed a lot of talks. We didn't really connect with the other developers or exhibitors, except for a few, and we didn't really learn the layout even until the last day. So basically, we nailed it. In all seriousness, we learned a ton from industry experts from talks provided entirely for free to anyone with an appropriate badge, either a Dev Day badge or a Pro Plus badge, I believe. We learned about the importance of community management, some considerations on the legal side of game development, and so much more. I wish we had more time to attend these talks, and the advice and ideas presented in them were super valuable. Again, I have no video of this, but we also got to have some great conversations with other developers and industry experts, including people working in major game dev spaces like Unity and more. We won't be missing Dev Day in the future. It's fantastic. You'll notice a trend of compliments for GDEX throughout this video. That's not going to stop either, just FYI. Day 2, also known as the day the showroom floor opens, also known as Friday. We had our table ready. We planned for this moment, at least as much as we could plan for an experience we've never participated in our lives. There was a lot that went into designing our booth, preparing for the convention, and if that's something you're interested in, please leave a comment below, and I'll make a video going over our thought process of setting up our booth and how we came to the conclusions we did on designing it. Let me know if that sounds interesting. Anyway, Friday was the day we had our first playtest, and the game decided to have every complication we ended up seeing throughout the weekend all in one go. On the first playtest. The word replace didn't work properly, so created characters weren't described properly. Portraits started displaying random drawings of rabbits. The Raylib rabbit, to be more specific. And the game crashed. So, not a great first playtest. Anyway, we made notes and reset the game for the next player. I should point out, about a week before the expo, I put in a way to reset the game in case anyone started playing and ended up walking away. So we didn't have to do like a hard reset unless something major or strange happened. It wasn't working perfectly. And just before the doors opened, I tested the game, and the game worked perfectly, except I happened to trigger something that messed up my reset code, and I didn't realize it. So we reset the game and basically corrupted the first playthrough without realizing it. We didn't learn about this reset code problem until the next day. So we gathered a bunch of feedback on bugs that aren't actually in the game. So good news. I should say most playthroughs did not have extreme pitfalls like this. Luckily, the game played rather well all weekend, except for a few times where it didn't. Double lucky, we were able to replicate the bugs we did come across, so making note of them and adding them to our notebook of improvements was doable. All across the day on Friday, we had people coming up to check out the game, talk about game development to us, giving good and honest feedback, and just having a good time. We broke away from the booth and played other people's games, and had wonderful, if not short, conversations with the other developers. Whether we had to run back to our booth or they had to take care of their booth, it was a little hectic, but in the time there arose a kind of groove we finally fell into. Throughout some of this footage, you may notice that some of the booths appear empty, and that's because GDEX was also paired with CorgsCon, a retro gaming convention, and they weren't showing up until Saturday. After the second day, which is to say after Friday, Luke and I were pretty exhausted between pitching the game over and over, standing and running around all day trying to see it all. We were ready to get back to the hotel, get some food, go over our notes, prepare for the next day, and maybe, if we were lucky, get some sleep. However, there was also the Exhibitor and VIP mixer, a time set aside for people to unwind and talk about the first day, meet with the other devs in a more social setting, have a drink, eat some food, and talk with people you might not have had time to talk with during the day. As a social introvert, I knew I wasn't going to be able to contribute much here. We popped in for a little while and made sure to say hello to everyone we knew, and honestly, I wish I stayed longer. My brother put it best when he said it afterwards. We do much better one-on-one, and chatting in a group setting is still something we're not super familiar with. Maybe next year we'll stick around for a little while longer. So sorry to everyone who was there. We did want to stay longer, and it was a lot of fun for the time we were there. I don't have any footage of this either, but it was nice. And again, like all other parts of GDEX, super welcoming, and the people were very approachable. However, it was time to get back to the hotel and prepare for Saturday. Saturday, we saw more attendees than the day before, and while we actually saw fewer playtests overall, we saw more playtests from attendees on Saturday. Friday had a lot of exhibitors testing out our game, which was still valuable. Game developers also buy games, after all. It was nice, however, to see players of all kinds walk up and play and ask about the game. We got into more of a groove by this point, acting as a kind of live tutorial, so we could direct feedback to areas of the game that hadn't already been noted down. Speaking of which, we were writing down pages of notes to take back home and address going forward with development. There was a lot, but that's good news. A lot of developers struggle to get feedback of any kind, and it was amazing to get several people to play the game and to write down what they liked and what we could improve. You can see the notebook here has several pages of notes that we just kind of hastily wrote down. Some of it was in shorthand because, you don't want to be busy writing notes while trying to talk to people and connect with them. You don't want to be kind of like buried in a notebook like that. So in between those moments, we would take a little pen, mark down something quickly, and then once there was clear time, we could discuss it and more clearly write it down in here. Honestly, a lot of what's in here is actually just like one or two words, but they meant something to us at the time, so we could expand on it, especially when we would go back to the hotel, because we could discuss the notes and make proper plans for the future. Here's a little view of CorgsCon. And see what that looked like. And those tables from before were now filled out with some amazing retro and vintage games, controllers, consoles, and collectibles. I'll show you a little view of our haul later in the video, but for now, let's take a look at the cool retro games on display. Saturday, we had a visit from Bucephalus from Cult Game. I think that's how you say that. His real name is Jeff, and after I got a chance to speak with him at his booth, and I told him how he helped us actually prepare for the expo, though he didn't know it, as we learned from his YouTube channel. A link will be in the description below. He has his videos. He talked about his experience at Gaming Expo, and it really helped us get started. You should definitely check those out because they talk about just kind of like preparing, basically, what his thought process of setting up his booth and his expectations and outcome out of it. So kind of something I want to try to do with this video, but we'll see. He's also making a really fun game. It's called Cult Game, and I'll make sure to put a link to that. There'll be amongst the many links down below. But Cult Game's really awesome. You should definitely check that out. He offered to come check out our game after we had that conversation, and afterwards he played it and mentioned some ideas on fonts and line spacing. He also told us about his string library and said we were welcome to use it, which is something I'm super excited to check out. I know I haven't talked much about technical stuff in this video, but I can't help but get excited about someone's custom string libraries. If you know, you know. I made sure to take breaks when appropriate, as well as test other exhibitors' games. Between the two of us, I'm not sure we were able to play everything there, or even see everything. Honestly, there were so many booths and games. We could have spent the whole weekend just playing games and not run out of stuff to do, let alone running a booth. I haven't even mentioned the Underground, which was a section of the convention that had tournaments, live music, retro consoles hooked up to play all kinds of games. I even saw someone beat Mike Tyson in Punch-Out on an original NES. I don't have footage of that either, because I wasn't thinking properly, and I just was trying to take it all in. Well, as always, next year, we'll plan better next time. This was near the end of the day on Saturday, and I decided to check my email for the first time this weekend. There, I see something I hadn't noticed. See, we noticed the schedule mentioned exhibitors should be ready by 9 a.m. rather than 10 a.m. on Saturday, as this was media day or press day or something like that. We had no idea what this meant, but we assumed it meant press and YouTubers, etc. We were walking around the showroom floor earlier than the official door open. So we showed up early, got set up, practiced our elevator pitch, and prepared for the off chance that anyone would be interested in interviewing us or playing the game. So about 30 minutes go by, and we notice none of the other exhibitors were even there. One even stopped by and was shocked to see us so early. Well, remember that email I mentioned earlier? Yeah, GDEX actually gave us the contact info of every media and press member attending, so we could contact them ourselves. Yeah, I totally missed that. The day was basically over, and honestly, I didn't know if any of them were still there. I wasn't sure if it was like a one-day type thing. I wasn't sure. This is just a huge missed opportunity for us. I completely botched this. Any dev who's getting into the marketing portion of their project will tell you actually getting press email addresses can be difficult to find. Getting press who are interested in your project is even harder. But being surrounded by press who you have direct contact with and are actively looking around for games to play and cover on their news sites or YouTube channels is an amazing opportunity, and GDEX basically handed it to us. Easily one of the most valuable things GDEX provided for us, and I didn't check my email. Yeah, I was kicking myself that night. We finished out the day with several playtests, and we were starting to receive a lot of compliments, which was incredibly encouraging, something I needed after coming back from my break of checking my email. What a roller coaster ride of a day. The day ended with an award ceremony. We do have some footage of the award ceremony at the end of the day, another experience that is hard to explain, but as a game dev and a gamer growing up reading award sections in magazines, watching gaming awards every year, etc. It was great to be in the crowd and cheer on your fellow developers as they won well-deserved awards. Shout out to everyone who won. I'll try to put as many links in the description below to check out all the cool games that are at GDEX 2025. Check below for that.
Oh my god, another Saturday down in GDEX World, and we're at the Game Awards yet again. It seems like we were just doing this yesterday. So, first of all, I want to thank everybody, all the exhibitors, all the people doing great stuff. Again, I say this every year, but your stuff just keeps getting better and better. I'm going to thank Laura Lee here for a second. I don't want to embarrass her, but she led the Game Awards this year, so she was the one going around playing all the games, working with the teams, and there were some really tough conversations this year on what's where. So again, it just keeps getting tougher and tougher for us to judge, which is great, because that means that your stuff is amazing. So round of applause for all you lovely exhibitors out there. And a lovely thank you, round of applause for Laura Lee.
So it's finally Sunday, the last day of the con. It's also kind of a half day as it ends at around 4. It's an early morning for us. We get up super early to get checked out at the hotel. We head to Mass at St. Patrick's, a wonderful church. Then we get breakfast and head over to the con. The crowd was a little lighter on Sunday, but we didn't really notice a dip in players, actually. Sunday was probably the most productive day of the convention for us. Several more playtests, some more feedback. We got to have amazing conversations with the other developers. Mindforge was another group that was showing off a text-based game. It's called Tales of Thisrea, and it looks fantastic. Be sure to check that out. And as things were winding down, we discussed how each of us went about solving similar issues and designs that come up with making a text-based game. Tracking progress, influencing decision trees, writing the whole thing. Just a lot of technical talk, purely for recreation, but we learned a lot from them. And I can't wait to speak with them again in the future. A great couple of guys. We also got to meet with Travis. And Travis is in charge of the Indy Indies, gaming dev group, gaming dev zine, and just a great group of game devs at all levels of skill. Be sure to check out their Discord, say hi to Travis for me, and tell him that violence and video games set ya. Sunday was filled with a lot of serendipitous moments as well. Speaking of Travis, well, I bought some of his printed copies of the Indy zine that he brought with him. It should have cost $10, but all I had was a $20, so I left $20 in cash. Travis was away. I hadn't met or spoke with him yet, and he decided to come over to our booth to give me back my change, which was not necessary at all, but I'm glad he did because we got to meet with him in person and let him know that we were also from Indiana. So we got to learn about this amazing game dev group that we didn't know about before. And it may not have happened if I didn't have, if I had the proper change, I guess you could say. So it's something to think about. These types of moments and these opportunities just kind of pop up, and you need to, be open to them when they do. This is when I decided to go ahead and email those press emails. I probably should have already, to be honest, but I had convinced myself it was too late, or that I had already messed it up. I decided I'm just going to try to reach out to them and see who might be interested in our game. I went through and reached out as many as I could, thinking maybe someone would see it. I wasn't sure what would happen. It was the middle of the day on Sunday. Who knows? Maybe someone would want to try our game. We walked through the game with a few more people, and I checked my phone. Sure enough, Joseph Moorer from Gaming Nexus emails, says he's excited to come check out the game. I'm in shock. I immediately send back our booth number and tell him we'll be here and that we're excited to have him play it. While we wait, another funny thing happens. A kid walks up to the booth wanting this bouncy ball that we were using as decoration for the booth. It was supposed to be a crystal ball. It was thematic for the UI at the time. We've kind of changed things a little bit now, but it was the last day, and we were pretty certain it was not going to make the trip home back with us. Some of the decorations on the booth were probably going to be struck from the set, let's just say. So my brother just picks up the ball and it's like, hey, here you go. Gives it to the kid. The kid loved it. Was playing with the ball. The mom was laughing. Honestly, it was kind of a heartwarming moment for the final day. Then immediately afterwards, we get interviewed by IzzyDojo. Just like every interaction we had at GDEX, he was kind and genuine. He asked about the game. My brother and I talked about the game, and he played the game. He was super nice, and I'm grateful that he took the time to come over and check out our booth, and it was a lot of fun. Just really cool and surreal. Be sure to check him out. I will add his links in the description below. IzzyDojo, great guy. It was getting close to 3:30 now. I wasn't sure if I was too late to reply to Joseph from Gaming Nexus. I told you I already wasn't good at checking emails, right? Just as I thought that, he shows up, full of energy, excited to play, and he was this extremely positive presence. Joseph played the game. We talked about a bunch of stuff that we hope we'll be able to share more of in the future. But for now, please check out Gaming Nexus. They've got great reviews over there, high quality stuff. I've got links for them in the description below. He's a great guy. It was a pleasure to meet him at GDEX. Okay, so the big question, how was GDEX? As in, how did we do? At the start of the video, I talked about our hopes for GDEX, growing our wish lists, and growing our Discord, and we did. We didn't get as many as we originally wanted, but we also didn't really come in with a proper plan of exactly how we would get those numbers. The game wasn't exactly in perfect condition. We only had one flyer with a direct link to our Discord, and we were still learning as we went along. However, we did gain some wish lists and some new members in our Discord. Thank you all for who joined, by the way. So we ended up pivoting our goal while we were at GDEX. We wanted to gather player feedback, maybe some analytics on what players preferred and how they reacted to portions of the game. In the GDEX playtest, we had 4 paths to choose from: the warrior, the thief, the priest, and the wizard. We ended up tracking which class the players picked and which choices were most popular. We can take a look at the graph here to see who won, and it was wizard by a pretty wide margin. And even accounting for all classes and their adventure paths, the wizard story about making a love potion was the most popular. A side note, the wizard and the thief storylines were the most well received as well, which was interesting. We also ended up with page after page of notes, as I've already mentioned before, feedback, bugs that we needed to track down, and just so much information we gathered during our time at GDEX that as a newbie game developer, it was honestly incredibly valuable. We set out with a vague goal in mind and hope for the best, and I have to say we ended up with so much out of the experience, I have only positive things to say about it. Was it exactly what we wanted? No, but in many ways, it was better. However, that's the hard data, I guess, and immediately actionable notes on the event. The actual experience is hard to write down or even show on camera. We were side by side with actual developers, super talented people showing off amazing games. My camera may not pick up how everything looks in person because of the refresh rates of monitors and things like that, but I've included links below, and as I've mentioned a few times, these people have all created fantastic and fun games. I wasn't able to capture everything on camera. This is my first time trying to make a video like this. These are just a few of the people we met at GDEX, and they were all awesome. Seriously, go check them all out. We spent a fantastic weekend surrounded by games and game developers. The short conversations between showing off our game to complete strangers were filled with nuggets of information, but also just great personal stories about their game dev journey. I can't say enough nice things about these people. On the last day, I walked up to some of my friends and said, "We'll see you next year." And it really sunk in. I mean, we would still be able to talk online and in Discord, but I didn't want the expo to end. It seemed like it went by in a flash. I realized the experience, the plans for what we wanted GDEX to be, ended up being eclipsed by what GDEX actually became. Okay, that's all the amazing things about GDEX. So now the question becomes, what would we do differently next time? Well, the first thing is definitely checking my email more often. I don't really do that very much personally. Am I the only one who doesn't check email? You'll have to let me know. Anyway, I also feel like I should have been more active on the GDEX Discord leading up to the event and asking more questions to get myself prepared. Because, like I said, they were super active. I just wasn't in there talking to anyone, so I could have had a lot of these questions answered ahead of time, if I even thought of them. Aside from that, I would say there's a list of small things. I would probably list our game name as our company name. So our booth is kind of like listed right above us. It would just say the name of the game rather than our company name. Unless we were showing off more than one project, then maybe it would be better to have the company name. Definitely putting a Discord link on our business cards, if I can get that to focus. Not sure. We have a link to our wishlist page on our Steam page on both sides of the card. We didn't have a Discord when we made the card, so it was very new. So that's something I want to do for sure is have all the appropriate links just on the business card, so it's all in one spot. I would say spending even more time talking with the other developers. Some people call that networking, but that sounds a little too corporate for me. It makes me feel, it's kind of, I just actually like talking to people and hearing their point of view, having a human connection. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. If networking means making new friends in the game industry, then I'm perfectly fine with the term. For sure, I would say putting a tutorial in the game before showing it off, or writing a tutorial script to memorize, would have saved us a lot of trouble on the first day. We did end up having one because we practiced it a ton on the fly and then kind of perfected it as we went along. But yeah, either having a tutorial or writing a tutorial script so that we could walk people through the game would have made it a lot easier. There's really no way to account for every bug, especially with internal testing alone. So maybe having the game tested ahead of time would have been a good idea, but honestly, it really wasn't a deal breaker for people to come up and play the game. And it didn't really stop their imagination from thinking or understanding what the game was supposed to be. If there was a bug that they come across, they just, they knew that could be fixed. It really wasn't a deal breaker, like I said. However, having a more clean build would likely result in more wish lists. So that's something to definitely consider. I think one of the biggest things that I learned with these ad displays, it's custom printed, it's super affordable, and it looks amazing. We saw this at other booths that were right across from us. We went over and just like, where did you get these? And they're like, just from Amazon. And I was surprised by the price, because anyone who's like looked up custom printing of anything online knows that it's usually very expensive. But as of this recording, these things that were, every bit as tall as me are $65. That's crazy. We spent easily that much just from our local printer, just to print like paper things to put on the table, which we may have printed too much of, but it's hard to account for, even still. Just the flyers were like $40 just to print. So having that big sign that would have like all of our links on it and just like a big display would have been, it would have improved our display. Also, for sure, we want to bring a monitor with the game playing in like an attract mode or a preview, kind of like a rolling trailer type thing, if you will. Of the game, so people walking by can get an idea of what the game is. Being honest, like I said, is the most important thing. It may cause some people to just walk past if they're not interested in the specific game that you have, but it could also bring people in who don't fully understand what your game is at just a glance. So if they see the video, they'll be like, "Oh, okay, I'm interested in that." And as cool as it is to have everyone play your game, it's even cooler when the people who are playing your game are actually interested in what you're offering. So just being honest about that and getting only the people who are interested in the game to come play it is even more valuable, because those are the people who are more likely to wishlist or even buy the game. Next time is bring some energy drinks or something, because by the end of the day, we were both exhausted. And we did want to see the after-hours events like the live music, the exhibitor, mixer, and things like that. But honestly, we were just too tired, and we wanted to pour over our notes every night. So we ended up missing out on most of that. So for sure, I want something to kind of like boost some energy, especially towards the end of the day, and we can just kind of hang out a little bit more than what we did. So that was our experience at GDEX 2025, and we're definitely coming back for GDEX 2026. We met amazing people, several I don't even have footage of. So, shout out to the people that we did see. Here's the people from Tombwater, the people from Colossal Kickoff. We have Robert Gartland, and Frog Boy is the name of the game he brought. Like I said, the camera doesn't quite pick it up properly, but he is great. The game is amazing. You really need to check that out. Shout out to Shannon at Couch Lion, and all of Couch Lion, the great group of people. Please check out Dream and Sugar, as well as the new game that Couch Lion is working on. Shout out to Chris Volpe for this event, and of course Tom. Honestly, Tom, one of the best guys you could meet. Wesley from the Cogg. If it weren't for Tom, Wesley, and Shannon, I wouldn't have even gone to GDEX. But their encouragement and invitation, it just really kind of helped me have confidence in myself, I guess I could say. And because of that, I didn't let this huge opportunity slip through my hands. I also want to shout out the Tech Buzz. They were doing like a live broadcast there the whole time. They were doing interviews with people. This is another person that I really wish I had emailed. Was one of the press people that was there. And I dropped the ball on that one. But they were really cool. They were awesome group of people, and they were creating some really high quality live streams and talks and interviews. They were walking around the whole convention floor. Just a great group of people. So shout out to them as well. I hope to be able to work with them in the future. That's the Tech Buzz, or the Tech Buzz Gaming on YouTube. So I'll be sure to put a link for them in the description below as well. Really cool. More shout outs to Joseph Morer at Gaming Nexus, IzzyDojo, Esteban from Unity, great guy, wonderful insight in the game industry, all the speakers, all the volunteer staff. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, so please forgive me. I could go on because honestly everyone was amazing. As for Columbus, Ohio, it was fantastic. The weather was great. St. Patrick's Church was beautiful. The convention center itself was wonderful. The Drury Inn we stayed in was possibly the best hotel I've ever been to. So it was fantastic all around. Okay, that's it. If this video was any value to you, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. If you want to follow along with our game dev journey, or ask questions, or just hang out, please join our Discord. The link is in the description below. If you're interested in the history of Dragosa, go ahead and wishlist the game on Steam. Again, the link will be in the description below. That's it for now. We'll see you next time, and we'll see you at GDEX 2026.